Should you guys upgrade? Well, if you thought that the Nova 4 wasn't exciting enough, but you liked a lot of things about it and you agree with those comparison review I got for you guys today. So we've got the upcoming release, the ASICS Novablast 5 up against the previous model, so the ASICS Novablast 4. So we're going to go through their similarities, their differences and their key features, and hopefully from that's going to give you guys a great indication of if you should upgrade or not. But before we get into it, and if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with the specs, so as you can see there, they are pretty evenly matched. So it's good to see that ASICS haven't ventured too far away what worked for them in the previous model. But what they have managed to do is to shave some weight off. And we all love a new model that's a little bit lighter than the previous. Can you actually feel that on the foot? Well, yes, you can. Now, I know it doesn't seem much on paper, but I think this new upper, it just gives the shoe a more of a lightweight or a more of a nimble and an airy type feeling, which is great. So I certainly do think the Nova 4 is the best daily trainer that's come out over the last year, but I did have a few gripes, and first and foremost just was the breathability of the upper, because in the 4 they had an engineered woven, and for me it needed to be more breathable. It was quite thick, even though it was pretty flexible and super comfortable. The breathability just wasn't enough for me. They've absolutely fixed that in the new model. So the Nova 5 has a engineered mesh, and the breathability difference between both shoes is remarkable. So this is absolutely excellent, where it's a bit of a hot shoe. Now with the rest of the shoe, so in the rear, if you have a look at whereabouts the heel counters are, this part of the shoe is pretty much exactly the same. So pretty solid heel counters there, and they've both got the same little Achilles flare and the same pull tab, so that hasn't changed much. Now what has changed from the new model is the amount of padding around the heel collar. So they've slightly upped the amount of padding around the heel collar in the 5 over the 4. And you can certainly, when you've got the shoe on and you look down at your foot, it certainly looks a lot fatter around the ankle. So I'm not too sure if that's going to bother anyone, but it's certainly got a really plush feeling, the new model here. Now with our tongues as well, there is a slight update here with the tongue. So they've got some more pads on the 5. And the pads are just on the side here, just where you tie up at the top, just to take some laces pressure off. It's still got that wing fit, just like the 4 had. But yeah, overall, this tongue is a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more padded than what you're going to get in the 4. With our lacing systems as well, so very standard here in the Nova 4, but I never had an issue with it. It was very, very nice. But they've done some tweaks here with the new model. So they've got a new lacing system. So they've got these little cables just down the bottom there, just to help cinch the bottom of that lace up, just right sort of on the top of the shoe. And then it sort of turns more traditional up the top. But the laces are the same as what they use in the 4. The lockdown, I never had an issue with the lockdown in the 4, and I certainly don't have an issue with the lockdown in the 5. So both excellent. Now in the fit, so this is where I think they vary a little bit as well. So in the Nova 4 for me, it was certainly true to size, very comfortable, true to size in the length, and for me it was perfect in the width. Toe volume was just right. Now I do think the new version is built on the same last. However, for me, the whole shoe in general feels, it's like it's roomier. Like it's got, the toe box certainly feels like it's got more volume, and it feels wider. But when you look at them, they don't actually look too much different. But I think it's got to do with this new upper material. Because it's just more flexible and it's a lighter material, I think it might just give you the perception that the actual shoe has got more room and more volume and more width. But I'm not actually sure, because yeah, when you actually line them up, they look very, very, very similar. So even in the midsoles, they pretty much look bang on to each other. And then yeah, the top view here, both shoes, the width looks pretty much bang on, but you certainly feel like the new Nova 5, yeah, it just feels like it's got a lot more room. And in our outsole, so another little issue I did have with the Nova 4 just was the grip. So that AHA rubber was always a little bit slippery, even though this one was an improvement, certainly over the Novablast 3. So they made this one a little bit more aggressive. They put some sort of some slits and some grooves in it, and the grip was good, but it still had its issues in the wet. Now, what they've done here with the new model, as you can see, same sort of rubber coverage in both, but I believe they've changed the rubber compound, and they've certainly changed the grip itself. So how the grooves and the slits in the tread pattern has certainly changed. Now, what is interesting to note, and I've seen, I know someone said, made a comment online that I hadn't really noticed yet, but on my version, so I've got a sample, so obviously an early release sample version of the Novablast, and the outsole grip that I've got is actually ASICS hybrid grip, and I've also noticed on the Running Warehouse, on the shoe that they had as well on their really early review, they also have ASICS grip, our hybrid ASICS grip used as the rubber compound on the bottom. But when you look at the ASICS website that's out now and the shoes that are dropping, well, I'm not sure, or when they do release, they say that they actually don't have ASICS hybrid grip. Someone mentioned it says AHA LO grip. So we'll see when they come out. Hopefully they've all got this upgraded ASICS grip, or maybe they've sent out their sample sizes. They're going to save some cash, and they've taken the ASICS grip and they've got the old school rubber on it. But let's hope that's not the case. But either way, the grip pattern is certainly a marked improvement of what they've got in the other shoe. So let's hope the brand new model for the production line is what I've got here. So the hybrid ASICS grip, and it is absolutely excellent. And in the midsole, so what you're going to get in the Nova 4 is a foam that's called FF Blast Plus Eco. Now that's the same foam as what they use in the Nimbus and also the Kayano. So they went away from the FF Blast Plus that was in the Nova 3, and they went to a more durable, more dense type foam. So I was a bit worried when they went to that. However, they done some clever sculpting with the midsole, and it still had that Novablast DNA, so it still had a little bit of bounce there, even though it wasn't as soft and as bouncy as the previous version. However, I still love what they done with the Nova 4. Now, very simple design. They've just got one big slab of this eco foam, no plate in it, and as you can see, it's pretty flexible, or it's not a really flexible shoe, but you've certainly got some flexibility in the midsole there, left and right, so it's definitely a neutral shoe. Geometry wise, a little bit of a forefoot rocker here, so it sort of borders on traditional. Like, it's not a super rocket shoe. When you stand in it, you feel like it's going to tip forward. There's enough curvature here just to take any slappiness out of the ride. Now the updates here with the Nova 5, what you're going to get here, brand new midsole foam, so FF Blast Max. So now this new foam debuted in the shoe a little bit earlier on, the Glide Ride Max, but they just had a really thin layer of it on top of the Eco, or the FF Blast Plus Eco version. But yeah, this foam, much softer, much compliant. You get a little bit more bounce out of this one. Simple design there. They've just got one big slab of this foam, and again, it's got some flexibility, this shoe, because it doesn't have a plate in it. Now in the geometry, I think the geometry with both shoes is very, very similar. Neither of them feel slappy. And again, this one doesn't feel like an overly rocket shoe either, like say you don't tilt forward in this one. And with our ride, so when you wear both these two shoes at the same time, they still feel like you're wearing a Novablast. So they've still got that DNA, even though they feel quite different. So with the old Nova 4, so lots of cushion, but remember, it's quite dense. It's not as compliant. You don't sink into it as much. The bounce in this shoe is created just by how they've carved the geometry of the shoe. But yeah, it's not overly bouncy, overly squishy shoe. It's quite safe and quite stable, even though I really love the ride in this shoe. But the new one, lots more sink, so foam much more softer, much more sink into it, and you get much more bounce out of it. So a little bit of life, a little bit of energy return, and lots more excitement in this version over this version. Now, I think this shoe as well is, just because it's got more life to it, I think it's the more versatile shoe as well, because I think it feels better, or it feels like it's very happy to pick up the pace, more so over the Nova 4. And best use, so both excellent daily trainers, and that's exactly where they're marketed. So very versatile shoes here. If I have to pick one though, like what do I think the best shoe is for your daily miles? Well, I'm going to go for the Nova 5, because It's just more exciting. It's just more fun to run in. I like a softer shoe. I like a bouncier shoe, so I'll pick the Nova 5. For some speed work or tempo work, I don't think either of them are great for your threshold or a race. But for that tempo pace, if you want to pick it up a bit, again, I'm going to go for the Nova 5. I think it's slightly better. It's just got more zing to this midsole, more pop, more energy return. So yeah, this one is the better. For a long run, now this is a tricky one because I absolutely love the Nova 4 as a long run shoe. I love how it's a little bit firmer, a little bit more consistent. I love the gutsiness of it. It still feels like a really nice, comfortable, efficient shoe as well. But this one as well, it's still a really nice long run shoe, but I think I'm going to lean for the Nova 4 for a long run because I don't like my shoes being too soft on a long run. So I'm going to lean towards the Nova 4 there. And just wrapping up the comparison here, so the Nova 4, this is the daily trainer of 2024. So it has been my favourite. So released December last year. So for the entire year, this has been my go-to, my favourite daily trainer. But as you know, it wasn't perfect. What needed to be fixed, I didn't think the upper was breathable enough. I thought that the outsole rubber got a little bit slippery in the wet. And I did think that they did take a little bit away from the ride when they went to this eco foam. So it lost a little bit of bounce, even though I absolutely grew to love the new ride in the Nova 4. But along comes the Nova 5. All those little gripes I had, they fixed it. They made the shoe more breathable. They gave it a better rubber on the bottom. And they've just softened the ride. They've just got that bounce back. And this is certainly the softest Novablast that's been released. And I think it's also the bounciest. It's certainly the most fun for me. So this one is the best Nova I think that's ever been released. And I think this is going to be hard to beat for the daily trainer of the year for next year, for 2025. So should you guys upgrade? Well, if you thought that the Nova 4 wasn't exciting enough, but you liked a lot of things about it and you agree with those little or you had those same little gripes that I had, then the Nova 5 is certainly a worthy upgrade. But take nothing away from this, the Nova 4. It is amazing shoe, as I said. Shoe of the year, daily trainer for 2024. If you can pick this one up nice and cheap, you go for it. But certainly the Nova 5 is certainly a worthy upgrade. So you're not gonna be too disappointed with this model, that's for sure. But anyway, guys, that's it from me. That's the comparison between the Nova 4 and the Nova 5. So big updates there. They're really moving in the right direction here, ASICS. Any questions you've got, anything that I missed, just please ask me in the comments below. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.